You want cinema quality sound in your apartment, but you're terrified of that angry knock on the door at midnight. Your downstairs neighbor already complained about your TV volume last month, and you've been watching movies with subtitles ever since because you're too afraid to turn up the sound. Here's the painful truth. Most home theater advice ignores the reality of apartment living. Those YouTube reviews showing massive subwoofers and surround systems conveniently skip the part where bass vibrations travel straight through your floor into someone else's bedroom. But here's the good news. You can absolutely build an incredible home theater setup in your apartment that delivers genuine Dolby Atmos immersion without becoming the most hated person in your building. I've spent months testing apartment-friendly systems and talking to people who successfully created theater experiences in small spaces without a single noise complaint. Before we get into the exact setups that work and how to configure them properly, hit that subscribe button and drop a like if you want real advice that actually considers your living situation. And tell me in the comments, what sound system are you using right now and what problems are you facing with neighbors or space limitations? Let's talk about why apartment home theater is so challenging, because understanding these problems helps you avoid expensive mistakes. The main issue isn't volume, it's bass. You can watch movies at reasonable volume levels and still cause complaints because low-frequency sounds from subwoofers travel through walls, floors, and ceilings far more effectively than other frequencies. Bass is just long sound waves that physically vibrate building materials. When your subwoofer hits those deep explosions in action movies, it's not just moving air in your room. It's vibrating your floor, which vibrates the ceiling below, which vibrates through wall studs and concrete, and suddenly your neighbor 3 apartments away feels it through their couch. Even at what you consider reasonable volume, that bass energy transfers through the building structure in ways that voices and high frequencies don't. Modern apartments make this worse because builders prioritize cost over sound isolation. Thin floors, shared walls with minimal insulation, and lightweight construction materials mean sound travels easier than ever. The apartment building from the 1970s with thick concrete between floors handles bass better than the new luxury apartment with engineered wood floors and drywall ceilings. This is why people get noise complaints even when they think they're being reasonable. You set your system to 50% volume, which seems conservative, but your subwoofer is still shaking the floor enough that someone below you can't sleep. The second major challenge is space. Traditional home theater systems use 5 or 7 speakers placed around the room with a large subwoofer somewhere on the floor. Most apartments don't have space for rear speakers on stands, and running speaker wire across your living room looks terrible and creates trip hazards. You need solutions that deliver immersive sound from compact components that don't require installation or take over your entire living space. The third challenge is flexibility. You're probably renting, which means you cannot drill holes in walls for speaker mounts, cannot install ceiling speakers for true Atmos effects, and need to take everything with you when you move. This rules out permanent installations and limits you to solutions that set up and break down without damaging the apartment. Understanding these 3 constraints, bass transmission, space limitations, and installation restrictions, shapes every recommendation that follows. Any system that ignores these realities will either sound terrible because you're scared to turn it up, or sound great until you get evicted. The soundbar solution? The most practical apartment home theater starts with a premium soundbar system. Soundbars solve the space problem by packing multiple speakers into one slim unit that sits under or in front of your TV. The best soundbars include wireless subwoofers and wireless rear speakers, giving you genuine surround sound without running cables across your apartment. But not all soundbars work for apartments, because many include subwoofers that still create the bass transmission problem we discussed. Samsung's HWQ990F is the gold standard for apartment soundbars because it delivers true 11.1.4 channel surround with included wireless rear speakers and a wireless subwoofer that you can actually control. This system costs around $2,000, which sounds expensive until you realize you're getting a complete Dolby Atmos system that sets up in 30 minutes without tools or permanent installation. The main soundbar uses upward-firing drivers to bounce sound off your ceiling, creating convincing overhead effects for rain, helicopters, and atmospheric sounds. The wireless rear speakers place effects behind you for genuine surround immersion, and everything communicates wirelessly so you don't have cables running across your floor. The critical feature for apartments is Samsung's SpaceFit sound calibration and night mode. SpaceFit uses built-in microphones to measure your room and automatically adjust the sound to work in your specific space. This matters because small apartment rooms create acoustic problems that large theater rooms don't have. Sound reflects off nearby walls and creates peaks and nulls that make certain frequencies too loud or too quiet. SpaceFit compensates for this automatically, giving you balanced sound without manual tweaking. Night mode is even more important for apartment living. When enabled, it compresses the dynamic range of the audio, which means explosions and loud effects don't get as loud while dialogue and quiet sounds get boosted. This lets you watch action movies at lower overall volumes without losing dialogue clarity or feeling like you're missing the impact. You can actually hear everything the filmmaker intended without shaking your floor. The subwoofer is the tricky part. Even with night mode enabled, subwoofers create vibrations. The solution is placement and volume control. Place the Samsung's wireless subwoofer on thick carpet or add isolation pads underneath to decouple it from the floor. These pads absorb vibrations before they transfer into the floor structure. Position the sub away from shared walls, ideally in a corner or along an exterior wall if your apartment has one. Set the subwoofer volume to 25 to 30% maximum. This sounds conservative, but the Samsung sub is powerful enough that even at low levels, you get bass presence without floor-shaking vibrations. Test this by playing bass-heavy movie scenes at your normal watching volume, then go into the hallway or step outside and listen. If you can clearly hear bass rumbling through the door or walls, your sub is too loud regardless of what the volume number says. The beauty of the Samsung system is that everything works together through Samsung's wireless ecosystem. The soundbar, sub, and rear speakers communicate automatically, and you control everything from one remote or the Samsung SmartThings app. Setup involves plugging in power cables, connecting the soundbar to your TV via HDMI, and letting the components pair wirelessly. No speaker wire, no complicated receiver configuration, no permanent installation. When you move apartments, you unplug everything and take it with you. Sonos Arc Ultra Alternative. If you want even simpler setup and better music performance, Sonos Arc Ultra is the alternative that costs around $1,000 for just the soundbar. Sonos takes a different approach by making the soundbar itself sound so good that you don't immediately need a subwoofer. The Arc Ultra uses Sonos's new Sound Motion bass technology, which produces deeper bass from smaller drivers than traditional speakers. This means the soundbar alone delivers more low-end punch than typical soundbars, reducing your need for a separate subwoofer that could cause complaints. The Arc Ultra is a 9.1.4 channel soundbar with exceptional dialogue clarity and true playroom calibration that works with both iOS and Android phones. You walk around your apartment with your phone while the soundbar plays test tones, and TruePlay measures how sound reflects in your space to optimize the tuning automatically. This is similar to Samsung's SpaceFit, but works with any TV brand instead of requiring a Samsung TV for full functionality. For apartment living, the Arc Ultra's advantage is its expandability when you need it. You can start with just the soundbar, which already sounds impressive for TV shows and movies with clear voices and decent bass. If you later want more low-end, add Sonos Sub Mini, which is a smaller subwoofer designed for apartments and smaller rooms. The Sub Mini costs about $500 extra, but it's specifically tuned to deliver bass impact without the excessive vibrations of larger subs. You can also add Sonos wireless rear speakers later for true surround, building your system gradually instead of buying everything up front. The Sonos ecosystem excels at music streaming, which matters if you use your system for more than just movies. The Arc Ultra sounds excellent playing Spotify or Apple Music, with balanced tonal quality that works for long listening sessions. The Sonos app makes it easy to control everything and set up night sound mode, which is Sonos's version of dynamic range compression for late night viewing. Sonos also includes speech enhancement that boosts dialogue frequencies specifically, making voices easier to understand without turning up overall volume. This is perfect for apartments where you watch TV at lower volumes, but still need to catch every word. The limitation of Sonos is that you don't get HDMI 2.1 support for high frame rate gaming. If you're a serious gamer with PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X wanting 4K at 120Hz, the Sonos won't pass that through properly. For movie watchers and music listeners, this doesn't matter. For gamers, it's a notable missing feature at this price point. Sony HT-A7000 Precision Option. Sony's HT-A7000 is the choice for people who prioritize spatial accuracy and pristine dialogue over maximum impact. This 7.1.2 channel soundbar costs around $1,300 and focuses on creating precise three-dimensional sound stages where you can pinpoint exactly where sounds come from in space. Sony uses their 360 spatial sound mapping technology, which measures your room with built-in microphones and optimizes the soundbar for accurate audio placement. This creates impressive immersion from the soundbar alone without requiring immediate add-ons. The HT-A7000 strength for apartments is that it sounds genuinely good without a subwoofer. Most soundbars sound thin and weak without their subs, but Sony engineered the A7000 with enough low-end presence that you can use it by itself and still enjoy movies without feeling like bass is completely missing. This matters enormously for apartments because no subwoofer means zero bass transmission through floors. You eliminate the number one cause of neighbor complaints while still getting theater-like sound quality. Dialogue on the Sony is exceptionally clear and natural, with voices anchored precisely to the screen. This clarity extends through the entire frequency range where movie soundtracks live, giving you detail in subtle sound effects and musical scores that more aggressive soundbars sometimes obscure. If you later want more bass, Sony offers an optional wireless subwoofer that you can add to the system. But starting without the sub is a smart apartment strategy. You get the full Dolby Atmos experience with overhead effects and wide sound staging from just the soundbar. And you can add the sub later if you move to a house or find yourself in a more sound-isolated apartment. Sony also offers optional wireless rear speakers as add-ons, letting you build toward complete surround gradually instead of buying everything up front when you might not need it. The Sony works particularly well if you own a Sony Bravia TV because of acoustic center sync. This feature lets your TV's built-in speakers work together with the soundbar to enhance center channel dialogue and create a taller soundstage. It's similar to Samsung's Q Symphony, but only works with Sony T5S. If you don't own a Sony TV, you lose this benefit, but the soundbar still performs excellently on its own. The slim receiver option. For people who want traditional hi-fi sound quality and already own or plan to buy bookshelf speakers, a slim receiver provides apartment-friendly home theater without the size and bulk of traditional AV receivers. The Marantz NR1510 is the perfect example. This receiver is only 4 inches tall, which means it fits into TV stands and cabinets where regular receivers won't fit. It costs around $600 and delivers genuine 5.1 or even 7.1 surround processing while maintaining the compact footprint that apartment living demands. The strategy with a slim receiver is to pair it with quality bookshelf speakers instead of using a subwoofer. Speakers like Klipsch RP600M or ELAS debut 2.0B 6.2 can produce surprising bass from small cabinets when properly positioned. These bookshelf speakers cost $300 to $500 per pair and deliver detailed, dynamic sound that reveals movie soundtracks and music with clarity that most soundbars cannot match. You place them on your TV stand or on small stands next to your TV, and the Marantz receiver powers them while processing Dolby Atmos and DTS soundtracks into immersive audio. The advantage of this approach is that bookshelf speakers produce bass through their drivers moving in and out, which creates much less floor vibration than subwoofers firing massive amounts of low-frequency energy into the room. You get weight and impact from explosions and music without the structural vibrations that cause neighbor complaints. The Marantz receiver includes dynamic volume processing similar to night mode on soundbars, compressing the soundtrack so you can watch at lower volumes while maintaining dialogue clarity and effect presence. Setting up a receiver system requires more knowledge than soundbar setup, but it's not complicated. You connect the receiver to your TV via HDMI EARC just like a soundbar, then run short speaker wires from the receiver to your bookshelf speakers on either side of the TV. For surround, you can add small satellite speakers on your bookshelf or side tables behind your seating position. The Marantz includes room calibration through Odyssey, which measures your space with an included microphone and optimizes the receiver settings for your specific room acoustics. This compensates for apartment acoustic problems automatically without requiring manual equalizer adjustments. The receiver approach works best for people who care deeply about sound quality and plan to keep their system long-term. You can upgrade speakers gradually, moving them to larger rooms as your living situation changes. The Marantz receiver has enough power and features to grow with you, handling more demanding speakers and configurations in the future while fitting perfectly in apartment-sized spaces today. Base management fundamentals. Proper base management is the difference between apartment-friendly sound and eviction notices. Never place subwoofers against shared walls or in corners. Place your sub along an exterior wall or away from shared boundaries. Use isolation pads or thick carpet to absorb vibrations. Set your subwoofer crossover to 80 Hz and start with volume at 25%. Slowly increase while playing bass-heavy content until you find the minimum level that satisfies without floor vibrations. If bass is audible outside your apartment door, it's too loud. Use night mode for late-night viewing. It compresses dynamic range, preventing loud explosions while keeping dialogue clear. This lets you watch action movies at night without bothering neighbors. Consider dual small subwoofers instead of one large sub. Two smaller sealed subs like SVS 3000 Micro create smoother bass with less floor vibration. Setup and calibration. Mount your soundbar at ear level when seated, not below the TV. Ensure 6 to 12 inches of clearance around it for proper sound reflections. Connect via HDMI-EARC, not optical cable. HDMI-EARC supports lossless Dolby Atmos while optical compresses audio. Connect your soundbar to the TV's EARC port, then connect devices to other HDMI ports. Disable your TV's built-in speakers and audio processing features like motion smoothing and virtual surround. Run the auto calibration. Samsung's SpaceFit, Sonos's TruePlay, Sony's Sound Field Optimization, or Odyssey. This optimizes sound for your specific room and compensates for reflections and furniture. Enable night mode from the start to optimize the system for how you'll actually use it at apartment-friendly volumes. TV and source pairing. Pair your soundbar with a modern TV supporting HDMI 2.1, EARC, and Dolby Vision. The 2026 LG C40LED or Samsung QN90F QLED provides stunning picture quality and full Dolby Atmos compatibility. Apple TV, 4K, or NVIDIA Shield Pro provide the best audio quality by bit streaming Dolby Atmos directly to your soundbar. Avoid optical connections as you'll lose Atmos. For gaming, connect consoles directly to the TV's HDMI 2.1 port with audio routed through EARC for spatial audio support. The no subwoofer approach. For zero bass complaints, go completely subwoofer free. Soundbars like Sony's HT-A7000 or speakers like KEFQ150 produce satisfying bass down to 50 Hz, eliminating floor vibrations while delivering much better sound than TV speakers. This approach works particularly well for dialogue-heavy content. You still get clear voices, wide sound stages, and Atmos height effects, just without floor-shaking bass. Real-world apartment testing. Test during quiet evening hours at volumes you actually plan to use. Play bass-heavy scenes like Blade Runner 2049 or Mad Max Fury Road. If you hear bass through your door from outside, it's too loud. Talk to your neighbors about your setup. Offer to test while they're home. Most people appreciate the courtesy and are more tolerant when you're considerate. Respect quiet hours, typically 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Use night mode during these times as bass vibrations create legitimate problems for sleeping neighbors. The bottom line for apartment home theater. Focus on soundbars or slim receivers with bookshelf speakers that minimize space and complexity. Choose wireless components, use isolation pads for subwoofers, and commit to conservative volumes. The Samsung HW-Q990F delivers the most complete experience at $2,000. The Sonos Arc Ultra offers simpler setup at $1,000. The Sony HT-A7000 at 1300 provides pristine sound without a subwoofer. The Marantz NR1510 with bookshelf speakers gives audiophile quality for under $1,000. Apartment-friendly home theater isn't about compromise. It's about choosing the right tools for your situation. You can achieve immersive sound while respecting neighbors. The technology exists and techniques are proven. Apply them thoughtfully instead of following advice designed for houses. If this helped, hit like, subscribe, and comment about which system you're choosing.